Time to build the ultimate white-themed gaming PC build featuring Intel's brand new 13th gen CPUs. In this video, I'm going to be building a stunning system with an awesome colour scheme that performs incredibly well at 1440p and beyond. Let's do this. The Corsair iQ5000T provides the ultimate in airflow, RGB lighting and mounting compatibility for PC builds in 2022. With 3 alloy fans included, 160 addressable RGB lights in the front, roof and floor panels, Corsair have really taken things up a notch. Learn more about the awesome 5000T in our build videos over on the channel or at the where to buy links in the description below. Let's kick things off by looking at a couple of the key components that gave me the inspiration for this system. NZXT have released their brand new H5 Elite. Now, I love this case for a couple of reasons. It's got an extra fan to actually cool your GPU from underneath, great for the latest really hot graphics cards. It's also got decent airflow, RGB, and takes NZXT's famous H500 series design and just brings it into the modern day. When I then received, coincidentally in the same day, this Z790 motherboard from ASUS, their STRIX white version DDR4, I couldn't help but think that these two were a bit of a match made in heaven. So what better way to try the new case than put together an awesome gaming PC that doesn't break the bank. This is a build you can assemble for around about $1,500, though for latest pricing, I'll leave plenty of links down below. With this motherboard being a Z790 design, it kind of gives away what CPU we're going to be using. And inside this, well, unnecessarily large and slightly dramatic box that opens a bit like some sort of shrine, you'll be able to see the CPU that I need is sitting just down here at the bottom. You have got a couple of choices if you wanted to replicate my build for yourself as to which CPU you can go for. I'd recommend this, the Intel Core i5 13600KF, but the i7 13700K or KF is also a great choice for those of you looking for a bit more power in terms of video editing or rendering and some more multi-thread performance, as you can see from our detailed testing of the 13th gen lineup. The ASUS STRIX Z790A D4 is an awesome little motherboard that supports obviously the latest 13th gen and older 12th gen CPUs for that fact, with a few features and a colour scheme that I really like. Let me talk you through it. Front and centre is the LGA 1700 socket I need for the 13th gen processor, 4 RAM DIMM slots, of which it supports DDR4. Hallelujah! DDR5 is good, it's very, very expensive, and not really going to help for a build like this. PCIe Gen 5 in this cool little clip. Look at this here, it releases the PCIe catch, very clever. And then around the rear, you've got everything from Wi-Fi 6E to 2.5 gigabit Ethernet and 10 and 20 gigabit per second USB-C ports. Happy days. Oh, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, look at the colour scheme. It's white and it matches perfectly. Even the box matches the scheme of the build. You just couldn't make this up. With a whopping 14 cores, yes, 14, and 20 threads on the i5, it's a CPU you just cannot go wrong with. TDPs are pretty good. Boost clock speed on your P cores of over 5 gigahertz. I mean, you literally could not ask for any more out of this CPU if you tried. In some of our results, we found the i5 on the single thread, which is what matters for gaming, to actually top some of the results from AMD's Ryzen 9 and 7 processors on 7000 series. Crazy, crazy stuff. Memory, as I say, pretty cheap for a build like this. 16 or 32 gigs will be fine. This right here is my choice, Corsair's Vengeance RGB RT in black with some nice prominent white accents. The memory color doesn't matter as much if you've got RGB on the top, as that itself can be customized to match the build. You just don't want something that's like bright red or grey with no customization. Slot the memory in. That's one stick. There's the second stick. All good to go. Last thing really to install on the motherboard is the storage. This is a Seagate BarraCuda 510. I'd recommend though that you get the 1TB version rather than the 512 gig drive I've got here. It's going to work amazingly for this build. About 3 gigabytes a second read and write. Very fast. Even though it's not a Gen 4 drive, it's still nice and speedy. And it's going to do the job in terms of booting up our system nice and quick. The only other thing I would recommend you guys to look at now before we move the motherboard into the case, though I am super excited for the H5 Elite, NZXT have got me jumping about and looking like a fool, is to actually take a look at the CPU cooler. And if there's any steps that we can actually go ahead and do now that will make the next bit of the build easier. You'll see what I'm saying in a moment. Inside the box, alongside all of this stuff, we're also going to see some mounting hardware. Now this little ring just here is going to go around around the water block on the cooler itself. This backplate is going to go through the motherboard, and then these screws with male-to-male threads will actually screw into the backplate with our motherboard sort of in the middle. I'm going to do that bit now. The thumb screws and all the other bits will wait till later, but if you do save this and try and do it in the case, you're just making your life a bit more tricky. So I'm going to add these in first of all, then we can move on to the H5 and come back to the cooler in just a second. One thing that's striking me already about this H5 case is the box is quite small. I was expecting a bigger chassis, but I suppose it is their more compact design, so probably a good thing in a day and age where everything gets bigger, though it does seem to show a 4090 or a 3090 installed, so maybe it has got clearance for those new large next-gen GPUs. There's only one way to find out, and that is by taking it out of the box and looking at it in the flesh. Now let's take a swizz around the case, shall we? So tempered glass with the integrated metal PSU shield, nice. Round to the front, this is the all-white colorway, no bits of black or grey anywhere. 220mm Air RGB fans. Then on the side, they've increased the amount of mesh very slightly, giving you some more, hopefully some more airflow. Cut out for easier installation of CPU coolers, but we've already dealt with that. An integrated RGB hub, integrated case accessory box, signature NZXT sort of cable management shroud, which is perhaps better demonstrated if we remove the, I think it's toolless. Is it toolless? Yes, it is. Front panel, it made a bit of a noise though, and there you'll see that signature NZXT sort of overcover, and the additional fan is just down the bottom here, which is going to blow in air from, I suppose, underneath the case up into the GPU area. I actually like that. Will it have a positive impact on GPU temperatures? Actually, it probably will, especially for something like our 3060 Ti Founders, which has a fan right here at the bottom, ready to pull in air through the graphics card. And then I'm just going to pop in my motherboard. Oh yeah, get it lined up. Oh yeah, what am I singing? I don't know.
No.
And then screw it down into place. Couple of screws at the top, couple of screws at the bottom, couple of screws in the middle. Bish, bash, bosh. What could possibly go wrong? Fateful last words. At this stage, there's a few different ways I could go about the next stages of the build. But I think what I am going to do is install the CPU cooler up to the top of the case first of all, and then add the water block on. I've also gone ahead and picked up a couple of additional NZXT white RGB air fans to go at the top of the case and hopefully make the whole thing tie in just that little bit better. It also needs an exhaust fan. A bit of a shame one's not included, but we'll add that in towards the end. So fans are going to go on the radiator first, then the radiator is going to go up here to the top of the case. Lovely jubbly. And the water block afterwards. Don't forget thermal paste as well. That's an important point. It doesn't come with it pre-applied, so you'll make sure your own, but it will have a tube included in the box. Nice. Looking really, really good. There's only one major component left to go other than the power supply, but who cares about the power supply? And that is, of course, the GPU. Now, finding a white graphics card, very, very tricky. Finding a white graphics card that's of a good price and easy to buy, basically impossible. And that's where this comes in. The Founders Edition RTX 3060 Ti. Now, guys, I might have misled you. I might have clickbaited you. You can turn off, ruin my retention, and cry GPU-based tears. It isn't exactly a white graphics card, but it's about as close as it gets. The 3060 Ti is the only card from the 30 series Founders range that's not like a dark grey. This is a really light silver. And if we hover it in the build, you can see, colour scheme wise, it actually matches perfectly. Bit of RGB spruced up in there, and this thing's going to look absolutely top tier. As with any build, you want to hover the graphics card over the slot, and that will just indicate which of your rear PCIe covers need removing. Now, for a standard ATX board, more often than not, that's going to be the second and third slots on a standard ATX case. So grab out your screwdriver, loosen, but don't remove these two screws here. Then you can slide the cover back before totally removing the second and third slots. Nice and easy, right? Pull out the top one. Pull out the second one, but keep hold of the screws in both instances. Then we can slide the graphics card into the slots, apply a bit of pressure, and it will make a nice satisfying click sound. Add the same screws back in like so, then pop the cover back over, and we'll wire it up with the next component on the list, the final of the bunch, the power supply. This is the NZXT C750. Why did I pick it? Well, a couple of good reasons. It's 750 watts and it's fully modular. A not so good reason, it's from NZXT and it matches. I mean, you know, we all like a matching build. Probably not the greatest justification for spending money on a product, but you know, it's a decent unit. We've reviewed it, we're impressed with it. It ticks all of the boxes for us. You get your power supply in here and all your nice cables over here, really well organized. This won't be a full cables and wiring guide, but I'm going to plug in a motherboard, CPU and GPU power connector, and even pop in some white cable extensions for good measure. These bad boys are from Easy DIY Fab, and I'll leave them linked alongside everything, and the affiliate links down in the description below. Once that's in, it is moment of truth time. Will my handiwork prevail? Will the build turn on first time with no problems? There's only one way to find out. Now, the only thing I haven't plugged in is the front panel JFP1 power. So let's give it a bit of a jump start. That's not very likely to work unless you plug it in. That was a bit premature of me. Let's try actually plugging it in this time, then turning the power switch on. 2 steps I completely forgot. And then we can jumpstart the PC using the pins. There we go. We got some fans spinning, some fans not. That one SATA cable seems to have fixed our RGB for the front fans, but still no actual spinning of the fans going on. So let me investigate. NZXT, that is a bit annoying. You've included an RGB hub, but not a fan hub. I thought all the fans were just plugged in by default and that a SATA power would do the job, but they are not. So give me a moment. Let's wire that cooler up properly, wire all the fans up, and then try again. Third time lucky. But NZXT, a fan hub would really be quite nice. I think this time we may be in a better position. So let's boot the PC. Boot. Okay, so we've got fans at the front spinning, fans at the top. One is spinning, one is not. Same with the fan at the bottom. That's not powered up yet. No, the one at the back. Oh, guys, I thought I'd smash this. What's happened? Oh, no. What disaster?
5 minutes later.
Oh yes, now it's working. So we're missing RGB for the rear fan. I'm not really sure why we're missing that RGB, so that is something we need to deal with. The cooler is also, the screen's the wrong way round, so we'll fix that in software, but otherwise, everything is working. Nice. So we're in a much, much better position. Let's plug this up to a monitor, take a quick dive into the BIOS, and then do some gaming. Picked up a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor, and I've loaded up F1 2022 for the first gaming benchmark test. How well will the system hold up in this title? I guess there's only really one way to find out. So we're running at basically the ultra high preset if you take a look at all the settings involved here. I have disabled ray tracing though, just for now, just to see what kind of difference that'll make. Get us the max frame rate, 1440p on our 3060 Ti, but Nvidia DLSS is on and set to balanced. You can learn more about DLSS over on our website. Now, of course, at this point, I could use the benchmark mode, but that would be boring. So instead, I'm going to jump into a race, a Grand Prix. Yeah, let's do Brazil, shall we? And see how this thing stacks up. Frame rate is in the top left corner as well. Well, sort of the middle, really. So you can see the leaderboard, and it's lights out, and away we go. So frame rate so far, 150 FPS at 1440p ultra settings. I've had a terrible start. Oh my goodness. No, just gets worse. I'm on a mission. I've got to make some places back. Frame rate is still strong, 144 frames per second. Obviously, it's a racing game, so the frame rate is that little bit less important, but it's still nice to have that triple-digit FPS figure. This whole making up places palaver hasn't gone particularly well, but the game looks fantastic. Frame rate's absolutely awesome. Arguably, you've got some legs here for 4K gaming if you really wanted it. Performs very well, though. Very, very impressed. And we can see if all the titles are a similar story by jumping into the next game on the list, a bit of Overwatch 2. If we look at the settings at play in Overwatch 2, 1440p, unlimited frame rate by setting the max at 600, VSync disabled, basically everything pretty much on ultra settings really, ultra and high throughout, lovely jubbly. Let's jump into a new game and see if the frame rate holds up in Overwatch 2. That's my hope anyway. And here we go, solid start so far, 220 frames, but I mean nothing's really happening, so you probably can't trust that number too much. That's our benchmark though, let's see if that holds up, if at all. Hey, there's a kill, lovely stuff. 182 FPS, the frame rate's dropping a little bit, but still definitely not too bad. They are literally everywhere. All the damage points. Give me all the damage points. Give me all the damage points. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Here we go. Big power. Yes, lovely elimination. Tidy. Tidy, boys and girls. Tidy. Very isolated, though. That's another couple of kills and an assist. Lovely jubbly. Oh, yes. No way. No. Eliminated. Never mind. Frame rate's very good. Game performed well. And this is not the only title I've tested out. A bit of Fortnite, a bit of Modern Warfare 2, a bit of Apex, anyone? Let's take a look. In the brand new Call of Duty title, we pulled in 167 frames per second when tested at 1080p high with DLSS enabled and set to quality. I've nearly finished the Modern Warfare 2 remastered campaign mode and absolutely love it. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. These high frame rates gave me faith that if we knock the resolution up, we might still see some good results. And at 1440p high with exactly the same settings, DLSS set to quality once again, we pulled in getting 122 FPS. 1080 or 1440p then in the new COD, more than possible on this PC. Fortnite at 1080p competitive settings is next. Everything tuned down to low except the render distance, which is set to far for maximum competitive advantage. This brought in 222 frames per second on average, not a bad result that, with 200 and 165 for the 90 and 99th percentiles. Moving through into Apex Legends, we tested this at 1440p high once again, 131 frames per second on average was our results here, and I was very, very impressed with the playability of the title. This is a system that means business when it comes to gaming performance and stacks up well in some of the latest and most popular games. You can find latest pricing and availability for all parts at the affiliate links in the description. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.